Death. Now that we have discussed life, let us move on to death and its relationship to life. Death is a part of life, as you know, not only in that it is inevitable and inescapable for all living beings, but also in that it is a punctuation point that inspires and shapes how you live. I mean that you know it will come, but most of you do not know just how and when, and so the idea of it can inform how you live your life. Therefore, it is necessary to understand life as described and explored above in order to truly understand the role of death in relation to life. The perspectives that I will share with you will cover a number of angles. You will hear about what happens at the moment of death from the perspective of human consciousness, as well as from that of soul. Also, you will hear about the process that follows this moment and what is to happen during what we consider to be your orientation process to the afterlife. Before we get to that, however, I'd like to explore some issues surrounding death that might have come to inform your current conception of death and what comes after it. The first thing to say is that your religions are mostly mistaken. They are attempts to explain death using the logic of the human mind and presumptions and beliefs about life, soul, deities, and the universe. They offer explanations of what someone thinks is happening, or what they perceive that a deity has told them happens at the end and after death. But mostly, these approaches are designed to cause you to live in a way that supports the religion's agenda so that you can support and maintain its existence. Essentially, religions are political organizations co-opting spiritual teachings, and they need people to believe certain things so that the organization can receive resources from them and ultimately thrive and prosper. This is fine for what it is. An exercise for humans to attempt to find meaning and connection to the divine and, in the process, create institutions that can help them in various ways. But you are not through these sources going to get the straight story on death and what occurs after it. You are instead going to get a story that is geared toward inspiring you through either love or fear to support the political and economic agenda of one group or another. And all of this makes sense, as you do not have many examples of people telling credible stories of dying and coming back to life. Those who have what are termed as near-death experiences certainly have had something to say about what they experienced. But without much corroboration from sources deemed rational in human terms and therefore worthy of taking seriously, it might not often be taken seriously. The people who run your religions can tell you that what this person is saying is not what God is saying, and humans will tend to believe it because the new story from the person who had the near-death experience doesn't necessarily fit with or support what they have been told by those running the religions is true. I will discuss near-death experiences more later. Some of you fear death. Others accept it as part of life. From your human perspective, it is the end for you. Of course, if we factor in what soul is and how life works on this planet related to the logic of soul, we know that this is not the case. From your human perspective, a person is living, and then a moment comes when something happens, and the person is no longer living. That person is gone, and he or she is gone forever. There is no negotiation. There is no hope that death might not happen to turn things around. It is a permanent state. And now everyone still living must move on or figure out how to try to move on. Death, therefore, appears to be the end of life. It is, of course, in fact, the end of a particular embodied life, but life goes on. Life continues. If you are willing to shift your frame of reference to that of soul, of all that is, endeavoring to learn about what it means to be human, then you are able to see that as part of all that is. When a person dies, nothing but the body dies. This is not meant to rob the looming specter of death of meaning, but it is meant to rob the reality of the meaning that has arisen for you if it is something about hopelessness, futility, being overpowered, or anything else that might make you feel small or unimportant. One of the vexing and confounding parts about life is the reason behind many kinds of deaths. You perceive there are accidental deaths and unwarranted, undeserved deaths. You have come to believe that death robs people of their potential if it comes to them on the cusp of a big opportunity, or at an age you deem too young to have really lived. Footnote. See the channeled volume Understanding Loss and Death for more on this. End of footnote. To really get to the bottom of what death is and how it functions for soul and all that is, you must shed any and all ideas you may have picked up and held on to that death in some way functions as a punishment for something done wrong or something not done. From the perspective of all that is of divine source, there are no just deaths as there are no unjust deaths. Births are the beginnings of life chapters and are chosen to provide the right kind of genetics and conditioning to the newly erupting soul, erupting into the earth dimension as a human, and all births are perfect as openings of life chapters. The end of a particular life comes when the chapter of that life is complete from the perspective of soul. The soul has had the opportunity to view human life through the lens of a particular kind of personality with certain kinds of conditioning and, therefore, certain kinds of beliefs, skills, knowledge, and feelings. Certain varieties of human experience, possible only through the particular lens of that person's life, have been observed, felt, and noted by soul. The work of that particular human manifestation is complete, and this is the only way that death can occur. Again, there are no accidental deaths. Deaths are the endings of life chapters and are chosen to wrap up one human story once that story has showed soul one route to living as a human given certain contextual meaning based in training, knowledge, feelings, and beliefs. There is a deep well of issues surrounding death that many of you reading this will need to learn to understand and bring back into balance before the rest of this text will truly sit well with you. If you are carrying pain about past or recent deaths of others and the apparently senseless nature of them, then you might find what comes next objectionable. It is normal for humans not to be open to perspectives that challenge the beliefs that they are carrying, and doubly so when those beliefs relate to or are caused by pain that is clouding things within them. When you are in pain, parts of you struggle to come up with reasons why you are feeling that way, perhaps about why it happened and what it means, because they are trying desperately to understand what is happening. No being likes to be in deep emotional pain, and so reasons are sought to try to figure out why and where things went wrong, and possibly how it can be fixed now by stepping back or changing some element of the story that led one to this place of pain. But through the lens of pain, your sense of being able to think through, feel into, and sense the truth of things is impaired, and this is normal and natural. So it is that I invite you to be aware of what might come up for you as you continue to listen to this and encounter all that it contains. It is meant to help you see new levels of what is going on surrounding death, and yet I understand that being in this space might bring up challenging emotions and thoughts within you.